She has been ridiculed for attempting to outdo her mother, referred to as a baby factory, and charged with breeding like rabbits. However, Jessa Duggar Sealed, who was born into one of the most contentious mega-families in America, finally speaks out in her most recent video. And what she says is cool, collected, and subtly damaging to those who have always undervalued her. Although I've never had someone confront me directly and be hostile, I have heard a number of offensive and pointless remarks, primarily on the internet. As a Duggar daughter raised under the constant surveillance of reality TV cameras, and the even more intense scrutiny of the general public, Jessa has been well known since she was a teenager. She's no stranger to controversy, but this time she's taking it personally. She is 32 years old and expecting her 6th child. We dissect it. These are the words repeatedly thrown at her in Reddit threads, YouTube comments, and forums where random people with nothing better to do ask why a woman, if a mother had 6 children, she would dare to consider it a blessing. The irony is that Jessa claims it has only ever occurred online and never in real life. The anonymous realm of online cruelty has developed into a haven in and of itself, one full of judgment, disdain, and unasked for opinions. She's not here to clap back angrily though, Jessa. She's not using her words as a weapon or pleading for pity. In today's online world, she provides something far more disruptive instead. Grace. Jessa, my mother is my hero, says. She is, in my opinion, the epitome of a mother because of her kindness, tenderness, love, and patience. Now, depending on your point of view, the phrase may make people laugh or smile. Once the jewel in the crown of TLC's family life, Michelle Duggar is a mother of 19. However, the Duggar name no longer has the same benign aura it once did due to years of scandals, legal actions, and public backlash. Nevertheless, Jessa sees her mother as a source of power and tenacity rather than perfection in the middle of pandemonium. She's also not embarrassed to acknowledge it. Jessa doesn't bat an eye when others make crude remarks such, "Are you trying to be like your mom?" She tilts her head in. She raises her chin. Indeed, big families like Jessa's are seen by many as a representation of antiquated ideals. They are viewed as regressive throwbacks or religious artifacts. By simply living her life, raising her children, and speaking with unreserved clarity, Jessa is challenging that narrative. The response also comes quickly and forcefully. Jessa isn't only incorrect, these critics. She poses a threat, a representation of something greater, something they believe ought to be put forth. Here's the twist though. She has no intention of converting you. She is not promoting a family planning ideology or enlisting people in a belief system. She's simply responding to the question that critics keep posing. Why? In the end, it really boils down to having faith in the choices we've made before God, as a partnership, and as a family. This is where it all begins. Ben and Jessa are not trying to win a game of numbers. They're not boasting about birthdays or counting nappies. They are deliberately and fervently selecting each child. Since they believe in something greater than approval ratings, TikTok takes, or popular Reddit posts, they have previously stated that they are not aiming for 19, but are also not ruling out more. This is the irony of the backlash. Critics yell that Jessa is indoctrinated, but she talks with greater clarity, independence, and purpose. Compared to many of her critics, she has no intention of proving anything. She believes in it, which is why she is doing it. And what's more radical than deciding on commitment in a society that continuously exhorts women to pursue freedom? She is indeed pregnant once more. Yes, she already has 5 little children. She is indeed exhausted. But she's also happy, deliberate, and determined. For the simple reason that Jessa Duggar Seawald is not here to procreate. Her purpose is to uplift souls. And that no hurtful remark can undo that legacy. We can truly influence how people interpret our news, according to some advice I just received. Then, without warning, Jessa Duggar, a mother of 5 soon-to-be 6 children, drops a bombshell that transforms criticism into reflection. Jessa isn't snapping in the midst of internet criticism and polarizing strangers. She's thinking. She is not defending herself here. It's about comprehending other people. And above all, it's concerning knowing herself. Jessa lets fans into her world in her most recent video. The quiet inner world of a woman managing parenting under a microscope, not simply the morning iced coffee and toy-strewn floors. One of the most important lessons she imparts is that our presentation of our lives, particularly the aspects that could provoke criticism, has the power to transform everything. Jessa has seen something intriguing when she reveals another pregnancy. "We're expecting and we're so thankful," she would say. People often react with kindness, interest, and even happiness. However, she frequently detects hesitancy, embarrassment, or even covert judgment if she adds, "Well, this one was a surprise," or "We're definitely done after this." Does that sound familiar? Motherhood is viewed as a ticking clock, a box to tick, and a choice we must constantly defend. It's a collateral reflex. Jessa's observation that sometimes we unwittingly apologize for the decisions we've made in life, expecting criticism before it even materializes. If we believe, we often include a disclaimer with our news, as if we're preparing for criticism. I have observed myself engaging in that behavior. Anybody who has ever shared significant news can relate to its subtle yet impactful message. Jessa demonstrates that the tendency to backpedal is a ubiquitous phenomena, whether it's a new baby, a change in employment, a decision to homeschool, or even just deciding to slow down, only to follow up with, "I know it's not for everyone," or "I know people might think it's crazy." To lessen the intensity of your happiness in case someone feels that it is too intense. Jessa, however, is no longer backtracking. She is actually urging people to cease lowering their lights, especially other mothers. Joy shouldn't have to be accompanied by a qualification, not because detractors vanish. There's more to it than a cue. It's a change in perspective. Jess and Ben have decided to portray their expanding family as a blessing rather than an accident or a burden, as they have done with their sixth child. It's simple. No exclusions. "It's a lot, I know. Don't worry about what people may say online." Additionally, that tone is infectious. In this video, Jess is not defending her decisions. She is demonstrating how to possess them. Because most actual moms are just trying to get through the day, while trolls lurk in comment sections. A lecture is not necessary for them. A sisterhood is what they need. And that's what Jessa provides. On both ends, there will always be people. Those who believe we already have, and those who believe we should have more. Had too many. However, we're not attempting to win over either side. We're on our own journey. Let's pause to acknowledge the candor in this situation. Jessa is not claiming that she is impervious to criticism. "I'm done catering to it," she says. 6 is the ideal number, and she doesn't have to tell you that. She isn't battling over reproductive choices or population ethics. This is our life and we're thankful. That's all she's saying. When thankfulness takes the discussion, the detractors become less dominant. This is the more profound reality. Jessa is speaking to our emotions, particularly in a society that is fixated with indignation and believes that performance can be transformative. The naysayers become uneasy when you talk with confidence, thankfulness, and serenity. Nothing is more disarming than someone who isn't ashamed of their life, thus it silences the snark. The simplicity of this section of Jessa's statement is what makes it so beautiful. She isn't responding to those who criticize her. She isn't criticizing Reddit. She's extending an invitation to mothers and other women to take back the language they use while discussing their lives. I know this seems strange, but it's time to stop leading with, "We're grateful, we're growing, and we're good." Sometimes speaking your truth without fear is the most courageous thing you can do. The world doesn't always honor women who joyfully accept motherhood, let's face it. It frequently calls for restraint, explanation, and remorse. Jessa isn't requesting permission, though. She is crafting a brand new story in which, without feeling guilty or ashamed, mothers may declare, "Yes, we're having another baby, and yes, we're thrilled." This is how changes in culture occur. By example, rather than by argument. Jessa Duggar chose to remain grateful despite the words of one mother. "I won't diminish my joy to make you more comfortable." Other mothers watched and whispered, "Me neither." She could have played it safe. She could have brushed off baby number 6 with a joke or a shrug. In doing so, she provided the approval to follow suit for innumerable other mothers. There is a brief period of peace in the Seawalled home before the commotion of toys, nappies, homeschool lessons, and grocery shopping. Jessa Duggar Seawald has set aside a precious period of time for herself. 6 a.m. Jessa starts her day while the rest of the world is still asleep. Not with scrolling or makeup, but with scripture, quiet, and a hot cup of homemade iced mocha. When the children woke up, I would simply get up. However, I've been waking up earlier lately. And it has been really revitalizing. In a culture obsessed with controversy and sensationalism, this little detail can go ignored, but in this case, it makes a big impression. Because this isn't your typical morning ritual. It's a resilient portrait. With 5 children under 10 and a 6th on the way, the mother claims time to not only get through the day, but also to focus on it. At the moment, she is slowly reading Matthew's book. No time constraints, no Bible in a year competition, simply intentional contemplation. Performance isn't the point here. It has to do with grounding. Jessa is constructing her day from the inside out despite the demands of motherhood and public scrutiny. The silence soon breaks. Her 16-month-old George stirs. Jessa goes calmly, as she has practiced. She picks him up with a snack cup and gently lays him on the nursery mat alongside a book and toy vehicle bin. He plays contentedly, giving her a few more valuable minutes of privacy. Finding a balance between being a mother and taking care of herself is a difficult dance. However, Jess has developed a routine, a structure, and a cadence that allow her to appreciate both roles without becoming lost in either. It's not only spiritual, it's also physical. I began exercising early last year, and have continued to do so throughout my pregnancy, which is something I have never done before. She works out using Trainwell Fitness, a personalized software made especially for expectant mothers. Based on her energy levels and pregnancy stage, her trainer creates programs for her. She doesn't do it out of selfishness. She does it for mental clarity, strength, and endurance. She has discovered that a healthy mother is a more present mother. Only when I'm recording in here do I notice the smudges. During her time on TLC, the cameras hardly ever showed this side of Jessa. Not the planned family vacations or the practice talking heads. However, the unplanned reality of parenting, the sacred but flawed grind, her clothes, and her obsession with stretchy black joggers. Her 5-minute glam routine, which included blush, powder, liquid foundation, and Burt's Bees Vanilla Bean Chapstick, her ultimate luxury, and drugstore mascara. Just function, no eyeliner, makeup, or frills. It's all very grounding, straightforward, and unrefined. Because this isn't a carefully planned influencer morning, as Jessa is demonstrating. It is captivating since it is based on actual life. She is attempting to connect rather than to impress. Nutrition comes next. Jessa talks candidly about her favorite pregnancy vitamins, a probiotic that her sister Jinger suggested, and Jessa 1. She talks openly about constipation, bloating, and digestion. She handles the topics that most influencers ignore with grace and honesty. We don't like to discuss it, but I've seen a significant drop in both of those things since starting DSO1. It's not a flex. It's not an attempt at sponsorship. It's just a mother expressing what has benefited her, knowing that other mothers are listening. She also goes beyond herself. She demonstrates how she provides her kids the kid-friendly version, while combining it with store-bought care. There's no shame there either. He responds, "Yummy." She chuckles, and the audience instantly notices. This woman is not in a state of survival. This mother is accustomed to the lovely chaos that comes with having a big family. From 3 pigs saying la to books about big brothers, Jessa uses these quiet times to engage with George rather than merely keep him busy. These deliberate one-on-one rituals are what give each child a sense of recognition in a family when a lot of tiny voices are competing for attention. The green will soon. The children's clocks will include blinking LEDs. The elder children will burst from their rooms, full of activity and still in their pajamas. The quiet will be lost in the whirl of sibling arguments, academics, nappies, breakfast, and the occasional juice box spill. However, Jessa has already filled her cup and will be prepared. I find it difficult to get up early. I'm not a morning person by nature. However, it has had a significant impact. This is a modern matriarch's unvarnished reality. Not holding out. Not for peace, but for its creation. Furthermore, the setting adds to its potency. She is managing a household, raising 5 children, dealing with criticism, and all of this while pregnant. There are religion systems and a wellspring of silent happiness instead of nannies and glam squads. This stage of life has a rawness to it. The neediness, the noise, and the nappies. Jessa doesn't run away from it though. She moves through it gratefully, patiently, and purposefully. It's not about celebrity at this section of her life. It has nothing to do with the pregnancy. The modest everyday choices that lay the groundwork for a large family are crucial. It's sacred, but it's not glamorous. In order to stay sane, grounded, and happy while raising 5 children and growing a 6th, a mother must start here before the world awakens. Before the day starts, with a book, a prayer, a coffee, and a moment of silence, before the critics start shouting. That is a morning's power. That is how a mother who leads with peace works her magic. It is the intractable question. Nor for her sisters, nor for Jessa Duggar Seawald, and not for any woman brave enough to have more than 2 children in the modern world. How many children will you have? It is posed with interest, criticism, worry, and occasionally even contempt. However, Jessa eventually confronts the issue in her most recent video, and she does so with more poise than others. We actually just take it, although I believe we had tossed out the number 7 or something. One by one. It's all in that one statement. The blueprint isn't stuck to the refrigerator. A family constitution does not contain the 19-child Duggar obligation. Just 2 parents, eyes wide open, praying through every season and every pregnancy. And Jessa makes one point very clear in spite of all the jokes, headlines, and comparisons to her parents. She is not attempting to follow in Michelle Duggar's footsteps. It can be twisted as the tabloids see fit. For Jessa, however, this isn't a contest. A crusade is not what this is. It's a calling. Additionally, the numbers have never been the main focus. My mother is my hero, to be honest. I cherish her. I love her. In a lot of respects, she is my role model. Jessa respects her mother, but she isn't imitating her. She is creating out her own legacy while paying tribute to hers. The weight of the decisions being taken behind closed doors is what detractors fail to see when they make snide comments like breeding like rabbits. The in-depth discussions between Ben and Jessa, the prayers at midnight, the medical consultations, the actual assessments of one's mental, emotional, and spiritual abilities. Not every infant just says yes to life. It's a carefully considered decision. She clarifies that her health is Ben's top priority. According to Jessa, having a history of postpartum hemorrhage means that getting pregnant again is more than just a desire. They need discernment. Ben consistently prioritizes my health over his ability to properly raise and care for each child. Let's stop there. Because in a culture where painting is popular, Jessa's remarks break the storyline by portraying big families as careless or reckless. Their childbearing is not a result of mindless compliance. They're not growing their family out of obligation. They are listening, assessing, making judgments, and above all, being forthright about their limitations. We thought 7 could be a wonderful number when we were married, but after 5 and now 6, we're simply dealing with things one at a time. One by one. That sentence may be the most groundbreaking aspect of her whole message, as it reveals something uncommon. Openness without coercion, contentment without complacency, and a mature, silent rejection to allow outside influences to shape their family's path. It's a common misconception that families like Jessa's run smoothly, that their faith has taken precedence over reason, and that they are mindlessly reproducing generational patterns. Jessa, however, dispels that myth. She doesn't have a fixed number. There are no expectations placed on her. She's moving forward consciously. The source of Jessa's true strength is shown in that line, which is delivered with humility but boldness. Not from her upbringing, not from YouTube acclaim, nor from society, but from her faith. This segment of the film feels more like a testimony than an update. An instant of clarity in a noisy world. She also doesn't downplay the difficulties. To be honest, I found the 0 to 1 transition to be the most challenging. Some people are surprised by that response. Going from 3 to 4 or 5 to 6 would seem like the breaking point. However, Jessa explains that the most significant mental and emotional transition of her life was going from being an independent adult to becoming a full-time carer. From carefree to drenched in milk, sleep-deprived, and attempting to make sense of life, you go through phases. She is extremely relatable because of this. She's not acting like it's simple. She's not acting like she's got everything figured out. All she's saying is that things get better. You adapt. You adjust. You rely on God. And in her house, you discover your rhythm. Being a mother is not viewed as a martyrdom. It is a partnership. A sustained, soul-forming dedication. One that includes late-night feeds and filthy floors. Yes, but also with impromptu prayers on the couch and dance parties in the kitchen. Throughout it all, intentionality is the common thread. The Seawalds are creating a family culture that values connection above quantity. Whether it's Ben scheduling time each week to take 2 kids on one-on-one dates, or taking a child alone for errands. Due to the fact that, ultimately, Jessa understands something that many people still fail to see. Having a large family is not a contest. It's a vocation. Not everyone has been called either. It's not a quantity issue, in my opinion. Knowing your frame and having faith in God are important, regardless of your score. The lesson is that proving something to the world is not the point of this. It's about taking care of a life. One prayer at a time, one day, one child. She isn't here to make people feel bad about stopping at one. Those who chose none are not being shamed by her. She's merely communicating her TAF in a clear, sincere, and apology-free manner. How many children will she have then? She's not sure. However, she is confident that she will raise kids with a purpose, in harmony, and with an open mind to whatever the future holds. It's simple to think that a family of 7, with another on the way, is always in disarray. However, Jessa Seawald is changing that story because despite the chaos of internet trolls and cultural norms, beneath the diaper changes and homeschooling schedules, despite criticism, there is a surprising rhythm, a house rule that is altering everything, and a holy order. I thought it was brilliant when I heard this podcast about instituting a relaxation period for the entire household. That day, we began doing it. Rest time is important for everyone, not just mothers and babies. Every Seawald youngster withdraws to their room between 1 and 3 o'clock p.m. They calmly read, color, and sketch. Nothing but silence, no games, no screens, no sounds. Additionally, for this small adjustment has been a game changer. Jessa regains something that every mother of many longs for during this brief period of peace. Breathing space. Not simply to take naps, though she occasionally does, but to read, pray, load the dishwasher without little hands reaching for forks, plan meals, read the Bible, text a friend, and rediscover who she is away from the never-ending demands of motherhood. In a society that exalts activity and bustle, Jessa's downtime may appear controversial, but it has a biblical and ancient foundation. The idea of the Sabbath, which is to incorporate restful rhythms into daily life as a basis rather than an afterthought. It's not just helping her either. It is changing her children. Even our 10-year-old oldest looks forward to his downtime. All of them do. It aids in their reset. It allows their minds to relax. These pauses are valuable in a home that never really stops. They also do more than just improve her as a mother. They create a calmer atmosphere at home, because Jessa is aware that she is more able to provide to the 6 young souls entrusted to her care when she is rested. However, such serenity does not imply that she has an easy life. Jessa is the first to acknowledge that parenthood is not for the weak of heart, particularly on this magnitude. Meltdowns, insomnia, postpartum depression, sibling arguments, and the never-ending to-do list are all common. She leads with grace, nonetheless, despite everything. Little things are what show off her strength. The messy times, not the picture-perfect ones. She doesn't act superhuman when asked how she does everything, including wiping tears, repeating herself 5 times, and cleaning up spilt milk without breaking. She acknowledges others when they deserve it. God, in my opinion, extends grace for every season. He meets you where you are, regardless of how many kids you have. She claims that she perseveres because of its grace. Not productivity tricks or caffeine, but God's constant presence in the midst of her typical, demanding, and remarkable days. This is at the heart of Jessa's approach to parenting. Kindness in discipline, patience in presence, unconditional love, and love that goes beyond her kids. It also comes across in the way she talks about criticism. Jessa doesn't snap, even after years of being made fun of for having an excessively large family. She thinks. She imparts knowledge. Those who curse her are blessed by her. She claims that no one has ever been unpleasant to her face. However, on the internet, yes, I have seen it. She still doesn't allow resentment to grow. Rather, she imparts knowledge. According to Jessa, the tone and manner in which we convey news can frequently influence how it is interpreted. The room changes when she talks of another baby with thankfulness and love. It encourages comprehension. We often share our lives with an apology in our voice. We don't live for others' approval. We live before God. It's a subtle but seismic, she explains, discussing how we prepare for rejection. In these moments, the messy, noisy, beautiful dailiness of it all, Jessa's strength quietly shines. She's not just raising children, she's raising disciples. She's not just feeding mouths but forming hearts. She knows that the true impact of her motherhood won't be seen in likes or views, but rather in the kind of people her children will become. Change from people-pleasing to purpose-living, from responding to critics to resting and calling, from trying to control how others react to her story fully and unapologetically. As the world debates how many children is too many, Jessa Seawald is doing something far more radical. She is loving each one well. She is protecting peace, she is reclaiming rest, and she is refusing to let the noise of the world drown out the still small voice that says, "You are right." She knows that this is the sacred work, so she rests not just in the afternoons but in the confidence that she is doing exactly what she is meant to do. Not flawlessly, not without struggle, but faithfully. Where you need to be. Motherhood doesn't come with praise, but it does leave a legacy in the quiet times that no one sees. For Jessa Seawald, that legacy is being created one quiet prayer, one morning coffee, and one rest period at a time.